Welcome back to another episode of the Business Mechanic Show, the place where leadership gets tuned up and performance gets turbocharged. I'm Vaughn Sigmund, your host and co-founder of Results Driven Leadership, and today we are diving into what may be the single most powerful leadership phrase you'll ever use. It's my fault. You heard that right. The three most important words in leadership aren't about delegation, strategy, or even vision. They're about ownership. And if you truly want to elevate your influence and keep your best people on board and involved and engaged and contributing, you need to embrace those words like your career depends on it, because it does. And stay with me, because at the end, I'm going to give you the 7 hidden signs that maybe you're not taking ownership effectively. Hey, you don't know what you don't know. And that's why you're listening to the show. So you can improve what you don't know needs improving. And this is often the case with those of you who are my friends as accidental managers, which is the bulk of every manager out there. So let me start with a bold truth. If your team isn't performing, if you're drowning in a lack of initiative on the part of your team, maybe you have more turnover than you would like, or maybe you want to improve your team, but you don't want to have to hire a whole new group of people, or you don't really know how to hire great people. So it prevents you from making some changes that strong leaders may decide they need to make. If your people aren't stepping up, supporting you, supporting the company in the way you need them to, sorry to tell you this, the problem isn't out there with them. It's in there with you. Now, before you hit pause, stay with me. I'm not here to tear you down. I'm here to build you up and into the kind of leader people want to follow, not the one they can't wait to escape. So let's break it down. What's your biggest enemy? Well, it's likely your ego. And ego is tricky. It shows up dressed like confidence, but it's actually fear in disguise. It tells you feedback is a threat, that mistakes are weaknesses, that you already know enough. And that voice, it's a liar. Because when your ego is in charge, you stop listening, stop learning, and start blaming. And guess what? That shuts down your growth and takes your team with it. Leadership isn't about being right. It's about getting it right. And you can't do that with blind spots. And your ego creates far too many blind spots for you, because feedback, which is what you need, and feedback comes in many ways, generally in results, but often in words people are kind enough to share with you, because feedback is the mirror that shows you what everyone else sees. So here's your first big shift. Replace ego and that mask that you wear that's protecting you. Replace that with ownership. Get humble. Get curious. Ask your peers. Ask your direct reports how you can do better. And this time, actually mean it. Don't be fishing for a compliment. Be fishing for something that's actually going to be a little uncomfortable for you. But more importantly, you're going to get comfortable with uncomfortableness. You're going to actually mean, because you're going to accept the feedback. You're not going to argue or defend or justify the feedback. You're going to actually mean it. You see, your ego, and you've seen this in others, is the silent assassin of leadership. So I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid right off. Your ego is likely costing you more than you realize. It's that little voice that says you're always right, or it drives you to always be right. If you're wrong, you're weak. That's your ego talking. The others just don't get it. They don't see it your way. That's your ego whispering to you. And that feedback is beneath you. I've got this. Does any of that sound familiar, or some version of that? It shows up very often when things are going sideways. And your first reaction isn't to look in the mirror, but to look for someone to blame. If that's a constant approach or reaction response that you have, is to blame someone, look externally for when things go wrong, that's your ego protecting you. It's natural. It's as natural as breathing. However, if I'm aware that my ego is not my best friend, that it's actually keeping me from growth because I'm in my comfort zone, I want to protect my self-esteem, you're going to have to get through that. That's the dangerous part. Ego doesn't just affect how you lead, it affects how you see. It blurs your ability to self-assess. It filters the truth into a bias that's more acceptable to you. And often it will make you deaf to feedback. And this feedback could change the game for you, but you won't accept it, or you find ways to reject it. Maybe not outwardly, but inwardly. How could that possibly be? They're wrong. They don't see it the way I do. They just don't have the experience I have. Those are some of the justifications we internally tell ourselves when our egos taking charge of things. And then often we're overcompensating with our ego. What's really going on when we're overcompensating? And most of us do. Most of the time, ego isn't coming from a place of confidence. It's coming from a place of insecurity. We're all damaged to some degree. We all have our weaknesses. There's no perfect human ever been built. And our ego often is our armor. It's a cover up for fear that maybe you're not good enough. Maybe that's where your imposter syndrome comes from. And that if people really knew what was going on behind the curtain, you'd be exposed. And people would see the real you, which is, in essence, if it's my fault and you take that leadership approach and that ownership, that's really the person that you want them to see. Let's work on that. What do you do? Well, often we overcompensate. You puff up your chest, you get louder, you double down on control, and in doing so, you disconnect from your team. You distort your decision making and you destroy your personal growth potential. And the hell of it is, the only person that can determine that and do something about it is you. It's my fault. Your team's not going to tell you. It is the rare team member that will come to you and give you really direct developmental feedback. The numbers, your results, the relationship you have with folks, turnover, complaining, gossiping, that's all signs that you're not taking ownership. And this is how ego wrecks your business. Ego is the reason you ignore warning signs because you already know. You shut down good ideas because they didn't come from you. And you may not be realizing you're doing that. It's just become normalized for you. You micromanage because you think no one can do it as well as you. Very common. You hire weak talent so that you can stay the smartest person in the room. And let me just pause on that one for a second. You may be the smartest person in the room, but you will never be as smart as the entire room, meaning collectively, everyone's a lot smarter than just you. And moving on, this ego will burn you out because you won't ask for help, even from the people that work with you every day that are supporting you. You see, all this compensation and this ego is not strength. It's your fear mask. We all wear masks. And today's episode is about removing that ego and fear mask to take true ownership of your results, your team, and your growth. And the worst part of all this ego stuff, everyone knows it. Everyone feels it. They're just not telling you. They just won't say it to you, but they're watching you. They see your defensiveness, your dismissiveness, and often your lack of vulnerability. And you know what they do? They slow down or they shut down. They stop bringing you problems. They stop sharing real feedback. They play it safe, or they don't follow through, or they half-ass things. And soon you're left with a culture that's running on silence, not on performance. And this is how ego wrecks you personally. Ego doesn't clock out when you leave the office. You go home with it too. And guys, men, this is the reason your spouse says, you never listen. It's the reason you can't take criticism. And that's there for everyone. You can't take criticism without being offended and maybe even blowing up. It's the reason your relationships are shallow and your stress levels are very high. See, your ego's often going to isolate you. It builds raw walls around you. And the higher those walls get, the harder it is for people who care to get through. And often they'll only make a finite number of attempts and then they'll just quit. There's no changing them. And let's be honest, if you're always the victim, if nothing is ever your fault, if you always have to win an argument or work hard to win every argument, your ego's in the driver's seat and it's steering you straight into a ditch. Getting into an argument generally is about being right, and you may be or you're not, but getting into arguments, nobody wins, especially you, because you're breaking relationships. You're creating perceptions of you. It's feeding your perception that's being built around you. And it may just be a perception, but you create the perception. And taking ownership will change any negative perceptions you have. So here's the antidote. You may have guessed this, but it's humility. It's ownership. And it's hunger to learn and grow. If you really want to grow, you're going to have to get your mind right to grow. You're going to have to get humble. You're going to have to accept the fact that you've got shortcomings you need to work on. You want trust from your team? Own the mistakes, their mistakes and your mistakes. Don't blame. Don't be a victim. You want to win? Stay hungry for the truth, even when that truth hurts. It's uncomfortable for you. You feel like it may expose you to being weak or inadequate. It's the only way you're ever going to get better at it is to accept it. That is where you start building your strength through humbleness, ownership, and hunger to grow. Here's the paradox of power. This is going to sound foreign to many people, but the less you act like you need to prove it, the more people see you as one who is defensive. That's not strength, because great leaders that we can all become must understand that we need to let loose in order to take hold. The less power you have to maintain, the more you empower. The more you empower, the more positive influence you have over your team, knowing that when things go wrong, it's still your fault. That's a huge leap for many people. That fear that your self-esteem creates for you will often hold you back from empowering people because fear of mistakes. But that's how you learn. That's how they learn. We're not working in bubbles. We can't protect everybody. Mistakes are okay in most cases, as long as you learn from them, as long as it's an improvement to our process or an approach, something we learn to do better next time or not to do next time. So I'm going to challenge you here. If any of this sounds harshly or very familiar, lose the armor, get rid of the mask, and start trading your ego for awareness. Start taking these in as personal observations. Start asking for feedback and really listening to it, asking clarifying questions, not defending it. Feel comfortable admitting when you're wrong. Even if you're just partially wrong, you had some contribution to something that went wrong. And start thinking about if you can't empower the people you have because they may not be as strong as they need to be, you need to surround yourself with people who will challenge you, not just cheer for you, not just be sycophants. They're going to keep you on your toes. They're going to ask questions. They're going to challenge you with whether you're right or not. Maybe they have a different idea or a better idea. And you've got to be really good with that. Invite it. And instead of your mind clicking into rejection of their ideas or their thoughts or their input, click that switch open. Listen to it for a minute. Absorb it. It's real leadership. You don't become unstoppable by pretending to have it all figured out, because you don't. You only become unstoppable by being willing to fix what's broken. And you have to start with yourself. So let's talk a little bit more about ownership and how that creates power on your part. And I'm going to give it to you straight. The most respected leaders in any organization take extreme ownership. That means everything in their world, and in this case, your world, is their or your responsibility. Even the stuff that isn't directly tied to you. When your team falls short, train yourself to stop looking for blame. Accept that you're responsible. Look for where you could have set clear expectations, given more support, been more checked in, or likely to have communicated more effectively. It's often where the break occurs. Because in the end, when you take responsibility, you're gaining control. And when you control it, you can change it. And that is how high performing teams are built. Now, I want to give you a resource. A link to this is in the show notes. It's a free tool that helped me tremendously in my early leadership involvement. And it's helped thousands of other leaders that I've shared it with. It's called 16 Reasons Employees Don't Do What They're Supposed to Do. And as you start reading through those, all but just a couple is your fault. And when you really think about all the reasons your team isn't performing, or you have more underperformers than you have top performers, this breaks down the hidden causes that you often create unintentionally. Just didn't know. You didn't think about it. And it also tells you how you can address each one with clarity and action. So if you've ever scratched your head wondering why people don't follow through, this tool is your answer. So go to the show notes, click the link, download the free tool, absorb it, use it as a launching pad to your empowerment, humbleness, and ownership. Now, some of you are out there waiting to be empowered. Do you feel micromanaged? Do you feel like I can't do certain things because my boss won't let me? Your boss may have some of these issues too, but sometimes in reality, your trust is earned. It's not handed out. It doesn't come with your title. If you want more freedom in your role, start communicating. Push the updates up the chain. Get in front of misalignment between you and your boss, you and your peers, you and your direct reports. Anticipate what your leaders' questions and concerns are going to be and answer them before they ask them. Oh, that'll get you some power. That shows confidence. And the more confident you are in your execution, your planning, your understanding of situations, the more space they will give you. But if they have to keep asking you and you passively hold all this information back and they have to parse it out of you, you're showing weakness. Get in front of it, be open, and own it. Ownership builds freedom every time. And in leading others, hey, you set the example. Your confidence, your approach is contagious. Your psychology is contagious to your entire team, including your peers. So teach your team the same principle by showing it. Your team will mirror your behavior. And if they see you taking responsibility, they will too. In time, none of this happens overnight, but in time, as you become more of an owner, they will too. Man, you're getting there then. And so it's going to be essential that you ask for feedback. And most importantly, shut up and listen. Not be thinking about how they're wrong or how you're going to defend yourself. Listen, maybe make some notes. And let's think about this. Here's a really quick leadership move that takes 5 minutes, and it can change everything. Ask someone you trust that you know will give you the straight. Ask them this question. What's one thing I could do better as a leader? Then shut up. Don't defend, don't explain, just absorb. Because once you start training yourself to listen without your ego and then without your mask protecting you, you start gaining the data and the information you need to elevate your leadership. And as you get better, more open, and take action on these things, that creates massive shifts in your team's loyalty, in their morale. And when you got a loyal, morally driven morale, when you got a loyal team that has high morale, your performance will soar. And while I'm on that, I want to introduce you to my new 90-day manager to leader jumpstart. And let me speak directly to those who are listening to this. Maybe you started a business, maybe you become an executive in your organization, or you're just a frontline manager. Not just, you're a frontline manager. Almost everybody was promoted into management without a playbook. So you're not alone. Most managers, especially first timers or long term managers, accidental managers, were never trained in real leadership. They may have some management skills, but they are often lacking real leadership knowledge. And that's why I created the 90-day manager to leader jumpstart. This isn't about better spreadsheets or status meetings. This is about transforming your EQ, your leadership presence, your mindset, your impact on your team and organization. And in just 90 days, you'll get the tools, strategies, and confidence, the foundational confidence to lead with influence and drive results through your people. This course will be life-changing because it doesn't teach you how to manage tasks. It teaches you how to lead humans. And if you're ready to finally become the leader your team deserves, visit the link in the show notes. Read over what you'll get and sign up. It's a smart investment on your part. Now, getting back to ownership. Building a high performance culture starts with one person, and their name is you. People don't follow perfection. They follow authenticity. I talk about that a lot. They follow leaders who own their mistakes, fix what's broken, and model the behaviors they want to see. If you want respect, show humility. You want results, show accountability. You want loyalty, lead from the front. Because at the end of the day, your culture, your team's culture is a reflection of your leadership. And if things are dysfunctional within your team, and as I've said before, the results just aren't there at the level you need it to be or want it to be or know it should be, it's your fault. And the only way to shape it in a better direction is by you owning it. So, how do you build this high performance culture? By taking ownership, and you need to drop the BS your ego keeps telling you. Let's call it what it is. Your ego's been lying to you. It's been feeding you stories like, it's really not your fault. Those people just don't understand. It's hard to hire good people today. Everybody lacks all this initiative. They just don't teach them in school like they should. They're not preparing them for real life. Those are all just excuses, y'all. Those are lies. If they just don't get it, if I'm really doing everything I need to do, somebody's telling you fibs. Because if meanwhile your results are slipping, your morale is a little shaky, and your best people, and they are looking for exits, 50% of everybody has a job is looking for a job because of poor leadership. And the problem is that's all hidden. You won't know it. But if you want to fix it, start here. And I'm going to give you 5 moves that will help you dump the ego, take real ownership, and lead your team to a level that you've never seen before. It takes time, it takes practice, it takes plenty of discomfort. But here are the 5 key steps to taking ownership. Always own the outcome, not just the effort. Even if you worked your fanny off and your team worked their fanny off and you came up short, you came up short. Own it. Your ego says, I tried as hard as I could. Ownership says, I may have done better. High performance leaders don't just check the boxes, they take responsibility for the actual result. Whether it's good or bad, the team gets the credit, you get the blame. Sorry. If your team misses the mark, don't hide behind effort, or your intent. Ask yourself, what didn't I do that could have changed the outcome? Go back to those 16 reasons why employees don't do what they're supposed to do Find the one or ones that maybe are not in your regular sequence of approach and communication, then you'll fix it. So here's some action you can take. After every major result, whether it's a win or a loss, do a postmortem. What did you do to influence this outcome? What could you have done differently next time? And start building on that. Number two, seek the brutal truth. And then when you get it, act on it. An overconfident ego avoids feedback. Ownership chases feedback down. They want to create a culture of performance and make truth your standard. That means asking for hard feedback. And this part is key. Don't defend it in your mind or in your words. And as I've said multiple times now, the fastest path to growth is through discomfort. So go out there, ask your team today, what's the one thing I could do as a leader that's holding us back? Get that information, ask some clarifying questions, smile and thank them. Then, more importantly, go act on it. No ego, just execution. Start working on the change. Number three, model what you want to see. Ego says, do as I say. Ownership says, watch how I do it. You can't build a culture of accountability if you show up late, cut corners, skip the follow through, have a flavor of the week every single week. We're focusing this week, and it's a direct change from what you focused on last week and the week before. You're constantly shifting their focus because you're putting Band-Aids on things. Band-Aids will not fix your team. You can fix your team. Taking ownership will fix and improve the results. And understand your people are watching your every move. They're listening to every word. You're setting the example, and your example is contagious. Your example is the loudest message, and you determine work ethic, initiative, et cetera, et cetera. So the action on doing this, taking advantage of this, doing something about it, whether it's punctuality, responsiveness, preparation, multitude of things, raise your game and then stick with it, normalize it, habitualize it. And eventually your team will follow you. You'll follow your lead and start becoming more like that, which is how you want them to be. Number four, stop blaming and start coaching. You see, your ego points fingers. Ownership builds people. When someone does something wrong on your team, it is only natural that you point your finger at that person and say, you screwed up. They screwed up. Ownership means, okay, they made a mistake. How did I contribute to that mistake? What could I have done better? You can almost find a better approach that you skipped or overlooked. So when performance dips, don't default to blame or frustration. Step back, ask, did I set clear expectations? Did I follow the 16 reasons? Did I train them right? Have I been coaching or just correcting? Are you one of those managers that is jumping on every mistake? You only point out the negatives and you never reward the achievements? Your team success is a reflection of your leadership. So do this. Schedule a one-on-one with each team member and ask, what do you need from me to be more successful? That's going to make some of them, if not all of them, very uncomfortable, depending on the degree of ownership you currently possess. Keep asking it. You'll get a breakthrough. Don't give up if nobody has anything, and don't go tell yourself, well, I must have this. Mine's wrong. You got it. And you're going to have to be persistent in asking that question until they start giving it to you. And when they finally do, even if it's just one or two people, they will spread the word if you go make the changes. You give them what they need to be more successful and continue to follow up. But it's a very uncomfortable thing to do. And all of this takes a lot of persistence. Number five, build psychological safety by owning your mistakes. Your ego hides mistakes, particularly your own. Ownership owns them out loud. Nothing builds trust faster than a leader who says, that's on me. I am at fault. Because when your team sees you take responsibility, even if you weren't directly responsible for it, they're going to see that you have their back. And the more you have their back, you're giving them permission to have your back. They'll do the same in time. And when you get there, that's where real performance starts to grow because people will start feeling safe to learn, to fail, to learn from their failures and push harder because you got their back. So try this at your next team meeting. Admit one leadership mistake you've made recently. Do it publicly and tell them and then show them how you're correcting it. Watch how fast your culture changes. That's brave. So the bottom line, your ego wants comfort, but your ownership demands growth. And if you want to build a high performance culture, it starts with YOU. Set the tone, model the mindset. And by doing that, you'll start raising the standard and achieving the standard. And understand that leadership isn't about being perfect. You do not have to be perfect, but you do have to be responsible. And showing your people what responsibility and ownership really looks like, and you'll lead the shift, and your culture will absolutely follow you. Now, you've listened this far into the podcast, and you may be asking, am I really this person? Am I not taking the ownership I should, or I'm not taking ownership and delivering what my team needs me to be? I'm going to give you the 7 hidden signs that you're likely not truly taking ownership as a leader, even if today it feels like you are. Like I promised you earlier, I'm going to give you the 7 hidden signs that you may not be taking ownership. And the first sign, this is a simple one. You frequently say they instead of we or I. When problems come up and your language starts shifting to they didn't or they should have, there's your flag. There's your red flag. Because when you're ownership minded, leaders say, I could have clarified. Oh, we missed the mark. Number 2, you're always busy, but rarely delivering the results you want. You're working your fanny off, but you're not always getting the results you're looking for. Constant motion doesn't mean progress. If you're overloaded but not producing tangible outcomes, it's time to ask, am I owning my priorities? Or am I just putting out fires all day? Because if you got fires all day, every day, you're not being an owner. And you need to understand that's your root cause. Start working on that. If you become the human Google that everybody must come to get questions answered, you're not taking ownership. You're not letting loose. You're not empowering your team. You're 100% in charge of your responses. You're going to have a reaction and then you're going to respond to that reaction. You're 100% in control of that. And if you're constantly reacting to everything at the same time and everything's a top priority at the moment, you got some ownership issues. Number 3, you don't regularly ask for feedback. You assume, falsely, that if somebody had something to say, they'd say it to you, or that your mask is listening, that your people are generally pretty kind to you. You're not getting any negative feedback. That's actually a warning sign. When you're not getting constructive feedback, your team knows that you're not taking ownership. But if you start seeking developmental feedback, what I can do better, and you show that you want to improve because you're taking the feedback and you're acting on it and they see your improvements. If you're not actively inviting input from peers, team members, mentors, your ego's likely getting in the way. Number 4, you react emotionally to criticism. I've seen so many people do this. They get hot. They physically, their body language changes, their facial expressions change because they take feedback as a personal attack instead of a growth opportunity because they're in defense mode. And if you're one of these folks where you tend to overreact or take things too personally, that is not ownership mode. Owning it means controlling your responses, which means staying grounded, listening, and finding the truth of what's actually being said to you. Number 5, you delegate without clear expectations. If you're passing tasks off without clear direction, that's not leadership, that's abdication, because you're allowing the mistake to be their fault, not your fault. Ownership means setting people up for success, checking for understanding, and following through. It's one of the things I've mentioned a lot is once you give instructions or you've asked for someone to complete a project or a task, take 20 seconds and say, okay, what are we agreeing to? Make sure they were listening to you and got from you exactly what you need them to understand so that they can properly follow through. Because if they don't properly follow through and you didn't check for understanding, it's your fault. Number 6, you feel stuck and you're blaming the system. And whether it's corporate red tape, it's your teammates being slow, or the system or the process, the bureaucracy is being slow. If you feel like you have a lack of resources, blame is a trap. Leaders who take ownership ask, okay, what's in my control? What can I actually do about it? I can't dwell on what I can't do or I don't have control over. What can I control? What can I influence today? Number 7, your team does not mirror your standards. If your team isn't showing accountability, consistency, or drive, it's often a reflection of your example. Remember that contagion. So own your tone, own the responsibilities, own the relationship you have, understanding that people work for people who they respect and trust. By you taking ownership, you're going to build respect and trust. And that culture all flows downhill from leadership. So those are the 7 hidden sides. You may have one, you may have a few of those. And today is all about helping you recognize it, put it in its right place, understand where it's coming from, and most importantly, go take some action to improve yourself. Understand it's going to be uncomfortable. So let's bring it home. If you want to be a next level leader, start with 3 words. It's my fault. And when things go wrong, own it. When your team is stuck, lead them. When your results are flat, take the wheel. Understand what you control, what you need to do better, not they need to do better, what you need to do better. Taking ownership isn't a burden. It's actually your superpower. So there it is. The 3 most important words in leadership. And I appreciate y'all tuning into the Business Mechanic Show. Please visit our website, rdltraining.com, to see all the great things we can offer you to become the best leader you possibly can. You don't know what you don't know. So visit us at RDL Training. That's Romeo Delta Lima Training.com. And if you got values from today's episode, share it with a friend, share it with a colleague, subscribe to the show. Hey, and I'd appreciate if you'd leave us a review. That helps build the algorithm to get the show into more ears. I'd appreciate that. So until next time, I'm Vaughn Sigmund, and let's keep building better leaders one mindset at a time. Now go get after it.